we all are a set of buttons just waiting to be pushed. Work issues, relationship issues, financial issues, especially Sally Mae. Day in, day out, we are met with people, personalities, and perspectives that seem to be put on this planet just to push our buttons. Yet we move from one situation to the next without experiencing total healing. And we unrealistically expect that the difficult situations we face will not have an impact on how we behave or how we engage with others. As a love and relationship professional, I come across many different problems that seem to stem from buttons being pushed, if you will. So with careful thought and consideration, I've come to this conclusion. We all have an effing problem. Now, let me clean it up a little bit for you and for my mother, who will eventually see this on YouTube. At the core of many of the challenges we face as individuals, communities, and even as a society is a struggle with forgiveness. This is not the typical connection most people make, but what happens is when we engage in a situation, we are met with a decision. Do we get mad and stay mad? Do we let it go and move on? Is it really that serious? Is it really worth it, or is it not? Forgiveness is one of those relationship principles that is highly underrated and probably the least understood, but the most required for relationship success. Growing up, many of us probably learned about forgiveness through the religious institutions to which we belonged, or through the example of a notable peacemaker like Gandhi or Mother Teresa or even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who, by the way, seemed to make forgiveness look super easy. And even now, many of us think that forgiveness is a response reserved only for the most egregiously selfish acts, such as cheating or abuse in a relationship, or that it's something that God requires of us in order to gain entry into heaven. But what if it were more than that? What if forgiveness was the sole ideal behind which all relationship success lies? What if the key to success in any relationship, personal or professional, was rooted in your ability to forgive? Now, if I asked you to scan your memory and think about situations where you've had to exercise forgiveness, I'm sure you can come up with a few. Think about one of those situations right now and how you responded. Now, think about the outcome of that situation and if forgiveness played a role in it. See, there are varying levels of offenses, which means there are going to be varying degrees of forgiveness. And those varying degrees of forgiveness all have individual, communal, and societal implications, because the way you respond to something can have a residual effect from one person to the next. For example, a boy growing up in an inner city has all the makings of a bright future, but his reality is completely shaken when he finds out that his father has been murdered, and not by some random act of violence, but by a family member. A family member he's supposed to trust and believe and lean on, especially in tragic times like this. So this boy grows up with resentment and anger in his heart and one goal on his mind: vengeance. And though he's able to successfully graduate from MIT and go on to become a special ops officer in the US military, there's no doubt that what he had experienced left crucial imprints in his life, in his relationships, and ultimately on his perception of the world. So with a deep desire for revenge and this lack of forgiveness, he becomes a killing machine. One who commemorates each kill with a self-inflicted scar. One who even kills his own girlfriend just to get one step closer to avenging his father's death. One who disrupts the peace and isolation of the community of people who quite literally left him behind. He turns into a killing machine, leaving him with no real sense of remorse or redemption or forgiveness. Though it's not the obvious reason, his lack of forgiveness is what drives him to making these life-changing and deadly decisions. Now, I know that story seems rather drastic, and it is, but it's the account of the villain in the Black Panther movie. Unfortunately, that story is not unheard of, though, in our society. We've seen places in our society where a wounded boy turns into a ruthless killer and transforms the lives of individuals, our communities, and even our society as a whole. And though forgiveness would not have changed the past, it could have easily influenced the future. When we have situations like that happen, this, in essence, is our struggle with forgiveness. This, in essence, is our effing problem. When we operate from a place of hurt, it's difficult to heal, and it definitely is difficult to forgive. Thus, the cycle continues, because hurt people hurt people. And in this example, and even in our own lives, as I stated before, the past would be the past, but forgiving can influence the future. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can you possibly forgive every single thing that happens to you? Or maybe you're thinking, some things are just unforgivable. And truly, I understand why you would think that. I too have struggled with forgiveness in my relationships, in my marriage, in my friendships, in my family. So let me offer this. Forgiveness is the remedy to a wounded soul. It's a journey, not a moment in time. And because all offenses are not created equally, some will take longer to forgive, and others won't even merit your time or attention. The story of the wounded boy turned killer is not unusual in our society, but imagine how different things could have been had he chosen forgiveness. Well, we wouldn't have that epic movie, but that's not my point. It's not my point. That's not my point. But seriously, think about how different things could have been in your life had you chosen forgiveness. What I know for sure is this. Forgiveness is a principle that will take us on a journey, and we have to choose it every single time. And in that journey, it may not be an easy one for us. It may not be something that is natural for us, but you can learn. And even in my walk, even in working with clients, and especially in that story that I told, are things that you can pick up that will lead you down that path to learning forgiveness and creating a liberation that only you are responsible for. So here are 5 steps to get you there. First, you want to recognize. You have to recognize what it is that you're feeling, whether it's hurt, pain, disappointment, and unforgiveness. Then you want to resolve. Make a decision that you will not let whatever has pained you in the past hold you back and dictate your behaviors. Third, you want to release. You want to release whatever is holding you back and create space for the right things. Now, this is a step that may take a little bit more time because we confuse forgiving with forgetting. You may actually never forget, but that can be a good thing because it arms you so that you are prepared in the case that something like it happens again, if it's within your control. Fourth, you want to reset. You know how computers, cell phones, other gadgets have a reset button? It's there to clear the slate and give you a fresh start. We all have an internal reset button that does the same exact thing. Fifth, which brings us to our last step. Okay, it's not really revenge. The 5th step is reconnect. You want to reconnect and realign with your soul in a way that gives you permission to be free. Because unforgiveness, not forgiving, is stifling. And so what I know for sure is this. Forgiveness, the opposite of forgiveness rather, is not revenge. The opposite of forgiveness is bondage. And today we're talking about what it means to be limitless. So you can choose to be limitless in your practice of forgiveness and show courage when it's most difficult, or you can choose to be conquered by your past pain and hurt. And if you choose to hold on to those offenses, I just want you to know there might be someone else, somewhere else, just waiting to push your buttons. Thank you.